Now, in relation to spirituality and religion, I don't have any clear answers, I have to admit, but I have a lot of questions. And I think there are too many people with answers in religion, and it's time for us to actually ask some questions. And despite the Margaret Throsby and George Pell comments about it being irrelevant, we live in a period of history in which public opinion is privileging spirituality above religion, and where the latter, religion, is regarded with a good deal of suspicion. Religion, as the term is being used in popular discourse, refers to traditional Christian, Protestant and Catholic and Anglican and Jewish practices, whereas spirituality refers to, I think, because I say I think because there's so many definitions of spirituality, everybody virtually has their own, refers to the personal pursuit of the sacred, often expressed in untraditional ways. Spirituality in the modern West, and I'm talking right across the world, modern West, not just Australia, is very influenced by Eastern philosophies. And the turn to the East is forcing spirituality, as it's conceived in society, and religion, as we know it in our Christian traditions, further apart. So when Joseph and Peter spoke to me on the phone about almost a year ago about dancing in the gap, and by the way, I always say dancing, sorry, you lot say dancing, I know that. But, you know, I grew up speaking Adelaide English, and not Sydney or Melbourne English. So in Adelaide, we speak proper like, you know, and it's dancing in the gap. And when they spoke to me on the phone and said, what would you like to speak about? I said, well, I'd like to talk about the gap between spirituality and religion. I know you were interested in other gaps here, and the rationale that was produced for this conference includes quite a few gaps. One of my daughters said to me the other day, how do you dance in the gap? She said, I thought you just fell through the gap. And I said, well, after I come back from Sydney, I'll let you know. Because I'm going to a group of experts who apparently dance in the gap and know all about it. And she said something else that I found very interesting. She said, gaps are painful. And they're either those chaplains either are denying their pain in celebration with each other, or they're transforming their pain in their ministry. So that's interesting. You know, these kids today, you know, you can't pull it over them, can you? Good Catholic upbringing from myself and their mother. So what's happening is spirituality and religion are almost like separating continents. They were once fused, a bit like the way India, I was talking to my cab driver yesterday, taking me to the Melbourne airport, that India and Australia used to be fused. He didn't know this, but this is geological fact, into this massive continent called Gondwana land. Australia split off, went in our direction. India split off and, of course, raced up, as it were, in geological time and hit the continent of Asia. The result of that impact was the formation of the Himalayas. Now, I often think about this when I think of spirituality and religion, that they were once fused. When I was a boy in the 1950s, spirituality referred to people who were very religious. These were people who didn't want just the normal participation in religious services and you know, the Sunday Mass and the Sunday worship, but they wanted a personal relationship with God. They were called spiritual. And now, of course, the typical statement that people make here in Australia, and I heard it made to me yesterday, I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual. And I always think that's fascinating that in my lifetime, I'm now 60 years old, in my lifetime, spirituality has shifted its meaning from those people who were very religious to now those people who were not very religious. So the whole thing's flipped over. No wonder we're all muddled in this country about what spirituality is and what religion is, because these terms have actually exchanged their meanings. Let me give you another example. I think in the past, religion could be imagined as the big circle inside which spirituality was the living core. As I said before, those people who wanted to be very religious moved to that core and formed a personal relationship with their God, a personal relationship with their faith. Now those circles have exchanged so that the biggest circle now is spirituality by far, and the little circle inside is religions in the plural. And I notice for my students that religions has become an optional extra to spirituality. No longer is it the essential ingredient of spirituality. Religion is now an option. And it's an option that more and more people in Australia are not taking.